Howdy folks, and welcome back to another episode of The Good, the Bad and the Ugly in World of Tanks. To kick off proceedings, we have this very quick battle that was submitted by Citeran. That's him in the Kanonen Jagdpanzer, the deeply mediocre premium tier 8 German tank destroyer. They're not exactly short of premium tank destroyers, the Germans, are they? Let's see, they've got the Stug 4, the Dicker Max, the E25, the Kruppsteier Waffenträger, the Kanonen Jagdpanzer, the Scorpion G, and the Jagdtiger 88. It's like you can't even turn around without bumping into a premium German tank destroyer. And they have 3 of them at tier 8. Poor old Americans. I mean, if you want to train an American tank destroyer crew, there's nothing at tier 8. You have to do missions to unlock the T-28 concept. Other than that, it's just the M56 Scorpion. It's even worse if you're British. All you have is the AT-15A. The Chinese have only had tank destroyers in the game for half an hour, and they've already got a premium tier 8. Same with the Swedes with the S1. The Soviets don't actually have a single premium tier 8 tank destroyer. Well, they do, the ISU-130, but nobody's ever seen one. Still, they do at least have the very, very nice box tank, the mighty Su-100Y at tier 6, Stalin's Hammer at tier 7, the Su-122-44, and the very capable ISU-122S at tier 7 as well. But the Americans, who, I should remind you, were the 3rd nation to be introduced into World of Tanks, and the first additional nation to be introduced after the game's release with the Soviets and the Germans, even after all these years, they still don't have a premium tier 8 tank destroyer. And if you haven't unlocked the T-28 concept, you've basically got the M56 Scorpion, which, let's face it, isn't very good. Mind you, neither's the Kanonen Jagdpanzer. This was put on sale right after the E25 was removed from sale. I'm not entirely sure why. For a start, this thing's tier 8. And it might superficially look a little like an E25, but there's just no contest between the two. I'm pretty sure that if you were to offer most people the choice of playing a tier 9 game with either this thing or the E25, despite the fact that the E25 is a tier lower and only has a 75mm gun, most people would choose the E25. There's not a huge amount happened in this particular battle so far. There's only 1 tank been killed, 2 tanks been killed, 3 tanks, 4 tanks been killed. The team are ahead 3 kills to 1. But this battle is about halfway complete. Because when things start going wrong, in this particular game, they go wrong very, very quickly. There we go. Enemy team have pulled the scores back to 3 each. Now it's 4-3. This game, by the way, it's not really so much about the gameplay as it is about the ending. Citeran's finally got himself in a position where he can start actually doing some damage with this 90mm gun. Taking pot shots at that T-34 over there, who just got hit by artillery. That is one thing that the Americans aren't exactly short of, it has to be said. Premium tier 8 mediums and heavies. T-34, T-34B, T-26E5, M6A2E1, Super Pershing, Patton Korea, T-25 Pilot. At some point at Wargaming, did they not think, you know, maybe the Americans have too many of these tier 8 premium mediums and heavies, perhaps we should think about giving them a tank destroyer? They could borrow one of the Germans. They'll never miss it. But no. Oh, actually, funny story, you may not be aware of this. The T-25 Pilot premium tier 8 American medium tank here in World of Tanks PC was one of a number of tanks, including the T-20, which were prototyped in the development phase that led up to the production of the M26 Pershing. Another one of these prototype designs was the T-22. Now you may be sitting there thinking it's only a matter of time before we see it on World of Tanks PC as yet another American tier 8 medium premium tank. And well, that wouldn't really be too surprising. But we've been beaten to it by those dirty, filthy console peasants. They already have the T-22 prototype on World of Tanks console, but it's not a tier 8. It's a tier 1. I am not making this shit up. A tier 1 premium. Anyway. Well, anyway, we're getting down to the vinegar strokes now. There are less than 2 minutes of this particular battle left. The scores are 7-10. Citeran's team are getting their arses kicked. Despite starting well. There's that T-34 again. One more hit and Citeran is dead. Oh, he very, very nearly ran right into the back of that T-34 and rammed himself to death. The shot goes flying over his chassis there. And he manages to take out the T-34, but he cannot afford to hang around. Somebody took a shot at him, went whizzing over the top of his tank. There's somebody in the cap circle. It's a Centurion. I think at this stage, capping is the very, very sensible option, and I think Citeran has reached that conclusion as well. And he's spotted again. Oh, that was close. Less than a minute of this replay left. A Centurion's sitting there in the cap circle going, don't see me, don't see me, don't see me. Citeran's come over here to join him. But there are enemy tanks incoming. T-10 leading the charge. Citeran and the Centurion have both got their prayer mats out. They're cowering behind the few available scraps of cover. Shot comes in, starts demolishing the cover. Citeran backs off, almost drives out of the cap circle and resets the cap counter, but manages to stay in. There's just this barest scrap of cover between himself and that T-10, and there it goes. T-10 comes in, Centurion puts the shots into him. T-10 kills the Centurion. He's going for the Ram. Last tank on his team, but he's crushed under the tracks of the Soviet Tier 9 Heavy. His entire team wiped out, still 7 enemy tanks remaining. Oh well, never mind. Better luck next time, except... no, they won. The T-10 was just a fraction of a second too slow, hitting the Centurion and resetting the cap counter. Not only that, just to add insult to the injury suffered by the enemy team, because Citeran was the last tank left alive on his team for like half a second, and he won against 7 enemies, that's a Colobanov's medal as well. No, really. a Colobanov's medal. We have another Colobanov's medal game featured in today's episode of The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, but the circumstances couldn't be more different if you tried. But we'll be coming to that in a moment. First, it's back to Sacred Valley with Sergeant Schlauter. That's him in his Jagdpanzer E100, the mighty, mighty Jaegeru. This battle could have been a contender for one of the fastest 15-0 wins in World of Tanks history, if not for the plot twist right at the end. So, and again, because this particular game isn't so much about the gameplay as what happens at the end of the battle. You won't have to wait very long because it is one of the fastest 15-0 defeats in World of Tanks history, and also because I'm going to be running it at double speed. So, while we wait for this battle to very quickly reach its epic plot twist conclusion, Maestro, music please. Flawless victory, or it would have been if they hadn't all suddenly started team killing each other for some, I don't know, reason. I think people are just running out of ideas now. Speaking of people who have just completely run out of ideas, get a load of the Object 268 in this particular Tier 10 only battle in the Abbey map. This match was submitted by the Kranwagen driver, that's him, Vader Z. The Object 268 is complaining about the matchmaking. What? Rigged what? You're all Tier 10. The matchmaking spread is 0 tiers. It couldn't be a more fair game if it tried. Is he perhaps upset that there are no Tier 8 or 9 tanks for him to seal club and pad his stats on? That would make sense. Doesn't explain why he does what he does here, however. There he goes. And yes, he's suiciding because he doesn't like the completely fair matchmaking. No, that really just happened. Several members of the team threatened to report him, as well they should, but he's completely unrepentant. In fact, he even says in chat that he's been doing this, suiciding at the start of battles when he doesn't like the matchmaking, since March. And nothing has ever happened to him. Well, you always have to look on the bright side when these things happen. That's one less idiot on the team. It would be better if dead players couldn't continue to pollute chat with their garbage, but it's only one Tier 10 tank destroyer. There are plenty more where that one came from. You've still got a Jagdpanzer E100. Wait, what's he doing? Oh dear. Guess he didn't like the matchmaking either. Wouldn't hurt him if he attended the occasional anger management class as well. What about this Colobanov's medal game you promised us, Jingles? You just calm your tits, okay? Soothe your breasts. We'll get there. First, we've got this. This is Rusty Roger in the FV 4005 Stage 2, more commonly known as the shit barn. Why do they call it the shit barn, Jingles? Good question. Very, very glad you asked. They call it the shit barn because it looks like a barn, and it's shit. It's not a trick question. This is not one of the more popular of the Tier 10 tank destroyers in World of Tanks. It's basically a Tier 8 medium tank chassis with a massive square barn-like, hence the name, armour-free shot magnet on top that houses a dirty, great big 183mm gun. Now, to be fair, the gun is, well, it's hilarious. I was going to say rather good, but I think hilarious is probably a much, much better word to use where this massive gun is concerned. The armour-piercing ammunition on this thing has 320mm of penetration and will do 1150 damage. And if he'd actually had the armour-piercing loaded there, he might have been able to do a substantial amount of damage to that tank. But hardly anybody ever loads the armour-piercing on this tank. They go for the high explosive, or to be more accurate, the HESH. Because the HESH, or high explosive squash head ammunition, is a type of high explosive ammunition that's specific to British tanks. And what makes HESH special is that it functions pretty much exactly like high explosive, except it has very high penetration. 230mm of penetration, and will do 1750 average damage, providing it penetrates the armour. Now, obviously, that shot at the FV215B did not penetrate the armour, and you can see that the 215B is trying to side scrape around the corner there, which isn't really doing him much good against somebody firing high explosive, especially not high explosive squash head, because the base damage of this shell is so high that even without penetrating, he's still doing nearly 800 damage per shot. And if he does penetrate, he can do upwards of 2000 damage. So yeah, this gun really is hilarious. The rest of the machine, not so much. The barn on top of the hull, that big old box-shaped turret, only has 14mm of armour. That's a 1 with a 4 after it. That means any tank in the game can penetrate this turret with high explosive. Even the Tier 1 LOL tractor. And the shit barn only has 1400 health. But it's worth it when that happens. He finally got a penetration on the FV215B and just nope. Right, anyway, the game's not going too badly so far. I mean, both teams are down 2 tanks. There are some very nasty machines down the other end of that road, however. Wait, was that shot incoming or outgoing? Okay, what? Whoa, wait, Jagdpanther 2. 1150 health. Oh, go on then. Yep, that's why this gun is hilarious. Oh, quickly, answers in the comments down below. What possessed that Object 263 to come out there in the middle of the square rather than shooting up the VK from back up the road that he came from? Why would you do this to attack the VK and park yourself sideways on right in front of the biggest anti-tank gun in World of Tanks? What was the upside there for him? Because if there is one, I just don't see it. Anyway, Rusty Roger has now done 5,500 damage. He has 3 kills. His team as a whole only have 4. The enemy team are leading by 6. And this IS-3 is very, very lucky to not be kill number 4. Well, I say lucky. Don't forget it's high explosive squash head, so he's almost certainly got half of his crew knocked out. And all kinds of equipment modules wrecked as well. But he does get his revenge. And Rusty Roger's problems are only beginning, because there's also an ISU-152 who's about to spank one into him as well. Luckily, most people rarely have the presence of mind to stop and think about loading the high explosive when they're taking shots at the FV4005. Or they just have armor piercing loaded, and, you know, if you've got a shot at this thing, you fire whatever happens to be loaded. If they hang around and give you the opportunity to take a second shot, even then most people still don't realise that it only has 14mm of turret armour, and every tank in World of Tanks can penetrate the turret with high explosive. That's not much consolation, however, when your team are crumbling all around you. You only have 173 health left, and there are no over-penetration mechanics in World of Tanks like there are in World of Warships. There's the Jaegeru. Oh, unlucky. 1,750 potential damage. Low damage roll. Jaegeru survives. Back off, back off, back off, back off. And we're going to live. Or aren't we? Because here comes the ISU. Gun's almost loaded. Gun's almost loaded. Who's going to fire first? It's not the ISU. But where's the Jaegeru? Is he taking advantage of the reload? He is. Here he comes. But he doesn't know that Rusty Roger hasn't reloaded yet. Is he prepared to take the chance? No, he isn't. Who's going to blink first? This is the question. There are only 4 of them left alive against 5 enemies. It could still go either way. They're both trying to fake each other into firing first to give the other one the... Oh! T-30 behind him. Yeah. Yeah, he's dead. Oh well. That's nearly 10,000 damage done. But is it going to be enough? Yeah, right. You must be new here. Of course it's not going to be enough. It's only 300 more damage than the entire rest of his team combined. It's only a mark of mastery on his gun barrel, an ace tanker and a high caliber. I mean, in what world would that possibly be enough to win in a game of World of Tanks? 10,000 damage isn't even enough in the FV4005 to run a profit. With the premium account, let alone win a game. Seriously, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Anyway, where were we? Colobanov's medal, Jingles. You promised us a Colobanov's medal game. Oh yeah, I did, didn't I? Okay, well, you've all been very patient little salt mine minions, so Colobanov's medal it is. This, in the Scorpion G, is Red Wolf 222, and he's in a tier 10 battle in assault mode on Sand River. He's on the attacking team, so remember, in order to win in assault when you're on the attacking team, you must either destroy all of the enemy tanks or capture their base. And you only have 10 minutes to do it, so you can't really afford to hang around. It does kind of put the pressure on the attacking team to be more aggressive than you would expect of a World of Tanks team. Unfortunately for Red Wolf 222, he's in a tier 8 tank destroyer that doesn't have particularly good armour, although it does have a very, very nice gun. He's equipped with binocular telescope and camo net, which is a very good choice on the Scorpion G because it's a tank destroyer with a turret. He sets himself up with the tank pointed in the direction to make a hasty retreat if he does get spotted, so he doesn't have to waste time turning around. And now he can turn the turret as much as he wants, and he doesn't lose the spotting bonus from having the binocular telescope or the camo bonus from having the camo net until he actually moves. And he just has to wait 3 seconds, and the bonus is reset. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. That's a very, very unfortunate position to be in, Mr. KV4. Oh, that is... it's like a turtle stuck on its back. Oh no, he's managed to get out of there. He only lost half of his health doing it. And Red Wolf's been spotted, and that, of course, is why he set up the Scorpion G in that position, so the second he did get spotted, he was able to make a quick escape without taking any damage. You see, it's all well and good in World of Tanks getting yourself into a position where you can do a lot of damage to the enemy. And that is good, but it's equally important knowing how to get out of that position when it's no longer a good position without taking any damage from the enemy. So, he's done some damage to the KV4. Oh, clutched the shot just a little bit there. Fired just a fraction of a second too early. Wasn't really fully aimed, I think, and the shot just sailed over the top of the Type 4 Heavy. And he just couldn't quite reload quickly enough to get a second shot away. That Type 4 is going to be making another appearance, however. There he is. Just have to be patient. And you really do have to be patient when you're in a Scorpion G in this kind of matchmaking. It's not like you're in a Type 4 Heavy, for example, and you can force the pace of the attack. You are, to a very large degree, at the mercy of the aggression of the rest of your teammates, particularly in the Heavies and to a lesser degree in the Mediums. But you can help yourself by keeping an eye on the map, seeing where your team need the backup and where they're likely to be able to break through if they just have that little bit of extra firepower, and then be there. All too often you see people in tank destroyers playing it far too passively and far too statically. They'll find a good spot that works in the first 3 minutes of the game and they'll just sit there for the rest of the match. When the battle has actually moved on, there's no longer anything for them to shoot at. So map awareness is as important in a tank destroyer as it is in any other type of machine in World of Tanks. Just because you're in a good spot at the start of the game doesn't mean it's going to remain a good spot for the entire battle. If you're lucky, your team are going to push forward and you're going to run out of things to shoot at. If you're unlucky, your team are going to melt in front of you and you'll have no shortage of things to shoot at. But Red Wolf's team have finally managed to create the opening, and he's relocating to, once again, bring this very, very nice gun into a position where it's actually able to do some good. They're going to have to get a move on, though. That was the 2-minute warning. There's only 1 minute and 41 seconds of this game left. There are still 6 enemy tanks that need to be killed, or somebody's going to have to start capping. He reloads, puts another shot into the turret of the T-57 Heavy, and then it kind of looks like the T-57 Heavy has fired his last shot from the magazine and is pulling back to reload. So Red Wolf is wasting his time sitting here. He's not going to get another shot at the T-57 Heavy, so he leaves him to the AMX and the Foch B and goes looking for something that he can actually put a shot into. There's only 1 minute left. They probably left it too late to cap, so they need to find and kill the 5 remaining enemy tanks. The T-57 Heavy is about to die. There we go. Object 140. Shot into the side, not quite enough. Come on, get round there, finish him off. Good stuff. 3 enemy tanks remaining, an E-75, an AMX-48, and the M40 artillery. There's the AMX. Nope, bounced. Come on. 30 seconds of this game left. The AMX just has to survive. So he's falling back behind the sand dunes. No sign of the artillery, no sign of the E-75. 18 seconds to go. Oh, this is going to be really, really close. There's the AMX. There's the artillery. AMX has been taken out. He's almost got a shot at the artillery. 5 seconds. 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Artillery dead. Game over. Now, I realise I promised you a Colobanov's medal, but I didn't say you were going to like it. That E75 on the enemy's team got the Colobanov's medal in this match. What else did that E75 do in this game? Not a lot. He basically drove 420 meters, fired his gun 8 times, didn't do a single point of damage to anything, and then hid in the corner of the map for the rest of the game. And apparently that's good enough for a Colobanov's medal. I warned you, you weren't going to like it. Anyway, I'm sorry. I just think that's really funny. I mean, it's not. It's terrible, but in a funny way. So, yeah. Oh, how about something nice to end off this particular episode of The Good, the Bad and the Ugly? Should we do that? Yeah, let's do that. I'm always going on about how toxic the World of Tanks community can be. And, well, because it is. But every now and then somebody does something that just reaffirms your faith in humanity. And it's nice to be able to show it when it does happen. This is Kilowatt73 from the Buffalo clan in his SU-100. Doesn't look like anything special, does he? And the game itself that he's about to have is, well, it's alright, it's decent, but the game isn't anything special either. So what is it about Kilowatt73 that makes him the MVP of this episode of The Good, the Bad and the Ugly? Is it perhaps because he didn't cry, whine and rant in chat when that OI experimental managed to get himself killed in the perfect position to provide cover for that KV-85 and IS on the enemy team and prevent any of the tank destroyers to the rear from putting effective fire into any of the enemy tanks? No. That doesn't make you an MVP, that just means you're not a douchebag. You don't get points for not being a douchebag. Not being a douchebag should be the default behaviour. Is it because he looked at his map and realised that the only tank defending the beachfront was a stock T-29 armed with a 76mm gun, coming under attack from multiple enemy heavies and being hammered by artillery, and decided to come to his assistance? No. That's just looking at the map and trying not to lose the game and reacting to what you see on the map. It's certainly to be applauded, and well, the tanks would be a much better experience if more people did it, but it doesn't make you the MVP. It just makes you somebody who doesn't want to lose the game they're playing. Is it perhaps because when the T-29 inevitably died and the Chinook-Kai, who also came down here to support him, were taken out, and he suddenly became the last line of defence on the beach, that he quite skillfully made the most of concealment and the terrain, and with the assistance of artillery, it must be said, slowed down and stopped the multiple enemy tanks who were attempting to infiltrate along this side of the map? Again, no, that just makes him a competent player, somebody who actually knows what they're doing when they fire up a game of World of Tanks. Wait for it, there he is. And gotcha. And back into concealment. Not a huge amount of concealment here, but, you know, he's taking advantage of what there is. Again, no, this doesn't make you the MVP, it just makes you a competent World of Tanks player. Now, what makes him the MVP? Well, have a look at the Stura Emil on the team. He currently has 5 kills. He's having a very, very good game. There are only 4 enemy tanks left. There's the KV-1 who was with the OI. He's hiding behind that bunker. Kilowatts doesn't really have a very good shot at him. Any second now, the Stura Emil is going to get his 6th kill. There it is. So there's his top gun. Now, artillery has taken shots at this KV-1 and has managed to stun him. The KV-1 can't see Kilowatts, and Kilowatts doesn't really have a very good shot at the KV-1 either. There we go. No. I would have been very surprised if that shot had hit. That KV-1 is realistically the only tank remaining on the enemy team that Kilowatts has any chance of being able to gain any more damage on. And then a couple of things happen. First, the Stura Emil kills the IS. And then the 60G fake tank, Chinese tank destroyer, nails the M42. Any second now. Any second now. There it is. So that KV-1 is now the only tank left on the enemy team, and the Stuart and Mill has 7 kills. And Kilowatts has realised that one more kill for the Stuart and Mill is a Radley Walters medal. And that's kind of a big deal. Now, he could take the kill on the KV-1 easily. He's still got all of his health, and he only has to hit the KV-1 once to kill him. But instead, he's offering up the kill to the Stuart and Mill. Now, that's a nice thing to do, but that's not all he does. That KV-1 is actually turned around and facing away from Kilowatts, and he's got his gun pointing right around the corner where the Stuart and Mill is going to appear from, and he could one-shot kill that Stuart and Mill. He's going to get the first shot. So Kilowatts not only does not take the kill on the KV-1, he distracts him and sits there taking shots from him for no better reason than he decided it would be a nice thing to do for a random teammate that he's never met before and owes nothing to, but just because it's a big deal for him. And so the Stuart Mill takes the kill, just in the nick of time, of course. Both the artillery and somebody else tried to take it from him. But thanks to Kilowatt 73, that was a game that the Stuart Mill player is not going to forget in a hurry. Turns out that was actually his very first Radley Walters medal. And that was all thanks to Kilowatt 73. What a guy. And with your faith in humanity reaffirmed, that is it for this episode of The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. I hope you've enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.